Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen. Guys, we are back again with another daily news update. Thank you for your phenomenal support for all our daily news videos, all our news updates, our live streams, our podcast. The channel is growing so fantastically well, and that is down to your amazing support. Like I've always said, with this channel, the aim for Victoria and I is to make this channel a fan-driven channel. It is a channel run by Victoria and I, who are Rangers fans. Yes, I know I'm English. I do apologise. And we are here for you to bring you the news and obviously give you a chance obviously to interact, and we love to read your comments, we love to read your opinions, and obviously we try to involve you when we do our live podcast as well as much as possible. Unlike other podcasts, we do try to include every comment in the live chat that we can. Okay, so we've got a lot of news to get through this morning, a lot to talk about as referenced Glasgow Rangers. We've got transfer rumours, we've got departures, we've got players and players' futures, we've got games, we've got lots to look on today. Anyway, let's obviously start with a little bit of slightly older news, which is just a congratulations to Malik Tillman, who obviously won the Scottish Young Player of the Year a well-deserved reward for Malik this season. He has at times been unplayable and has played exceptionally well and has helped obviously contribute to Rangers' season, obviously, and in the end, an unsuccessful and obviously not the season we wanted at all. A very frustrating season. But Malik came in, I think, has impressed a lot of Rangers fans with what he's shown this year, with his goals, with his assists, with his creativity, with his passing range, with his skill, and we thank Malik for all that he's done for the club. Now, whether or not he returns to Rangers, who knows at this stage? I think obviously he's returned to Bayern due to that injury, with that season-ending injury that he suffered in the semi-final against Celtic. Now, what happens with Malik next? Who knows? There are contradictory stories going around. Some people say that, that it's still open for discussion as to what will happen with Tillman, whether or not he will return to Rangers or whether he will be, staying at Bayern Munich. There are certainly stories coming out of Germany that he wants to stay and compete for a place in the Bayern Munich team. Yet there are other stories saying that, that it is still open for discussion between the two clubs and open for discussion between Michael and Malik. So obviously, I think it's a watch this space. I think, if I've got to say one way or the other at this moment in time, I'd say the likelihood is that Tillman won't return to Rangers. I know that some fans are happy with that. Some fans feel that £5 million, alleged £5 million could be better spent elsewhere or another couple of players rather than just on one player, that we have too many needs to be spending £5 million on one player who, some people argue hasn't turned up in the big games, has gone missing in games when we've needed him. Yet others say, well, he is 20 years old. This is his first season in professional football. And like with a lot of players, with a lot of guys at Rangers, it kind of divides opinion, doesn't it? It really does divide opinion. Well, okay, so let's move it along. Let's talk about obviously a couple of transfer rumours. Now, obviously, a lot of news about this man, Luis Palma. He has apparently, according to reports coming out of Greece tonight, Rangers have submitted a £4.4 million bid, according to a number of news sources in Greece. Now, whether or not that is correct, who knows? But obviously, that has been what has been reported by a number of Greek news outlets. There is also a story that's been reported on a number of Rangers sites that the chairman of Aris has reported that Rangers have submitted a bid and are interested in Palma. So it does seem that this Luis Palma rumour and Luis Palma story is gathering momentum and is certainly moving forward. And obviously, like I said in yesterday's video, I would welcome a player of his calibre at the club. I think he is a very talented player. He is a player who has contributed well this season to Aris, and he certainly gave away a hint, I think, the other on his social media the other day, where he tweeted a picture of his shirt and put "It's the last dance." So I think it's fairly clear that Palma will be moving on from Aris this summer, and he will not be returning to the club. And like I said, it does seem that Rangers are at this moment in time in pole position for Luis Palma. And like I said, he does seem very talented, does seem like a player that we could do with, a player that would actually come in and replace the likes of, obviously, Ryan Kent in the starting lineup. 11 goals in 29 games this season is certainly a decent return for a winger. Now, also, with the story that I broke on the video earlier, guys, if you haven't checked out that video, please go and check it out. As regards Jack Butland, obviously the news that he may be pricing himself out of a move to Rangers due to his wage demands and his signing on fee demand. Like I said in the video earlier, if you're a Bosman, you do therefore demand a higher signing on fee because obviously the club are not paying a transfer fee. Now, it seems in response to that, Rangers have this weekend been watching Fortuna Sittard's Croatian goalkeeper, Ivan Pandur. Ivan Pandur is 23 years old and is a highly rated Croatian goalkeeper playing currently in the Dutch league for Fortuna Sittard. He's 23 years old, and I think it has been a point of discussion that he could well be signed as a backup initially for Robbie McCrory. Now, before I talk a little bit about why he would make it that, why we think he's a backup, and why Rangers are possibly thinking down a different route when it comes to goalkeepers, let's have a quick look at the stats around Ivan Pandur. So he's played 29 appearances this season. He's conceded 48 goals, which on the surface is not too impressive, but he is playing in a very poor Sittard team. He's kept 7 clean sheets out of 29 and has had 2 yellow cards. He's played in 91% of Sittard's starting 11s this season and played 91% of their first team minutes. Has not saved any penalties this season. Has spent time on loan in Italy as well. Has gained experience playing for Hellas Verona. So as you can see there, he's had quite a complicated transfer history, really, hasn't he? He is obviously on loan at Fortuna Sittard, and many are rumouring that he could obviously be joining them on a permanent. But like I said, it could be that Rangers are going to swoop in there and sign the young man as a backup for Robbie McCrory. Robbie McCrory has, as we've seen in past games, given some exceptionally impressive performances, commanding his area, reading the game, coming off his line. Been like that sweeper keeper, playing well with his feet, closing down the angles, making himself big. A great save from Matt O'Reilly. McCrory has been everything I think we've been looking for this season, and has certainly given the defence a whole lot more confidence with the way he's played than certainly McGregor has done this season. And I think McCrory has done himself, no damage at all with the way he's been playing. 4 clean sheets, including 2 against that mob from across the city. He has been a quality, and it could be that this young man from Fortuna Sittard, Ivan Pandur, is seen as being the player to come in and be a backup to him, given the fact that obviously John McLaughlin looks like he will be leaving as well in the summer, as well as obviously Alan McGregor, as it was revealed by Michael Beale the other day. Now, personally, again, I think that this would be a good move. I think, that Butland is certainly a very expensive option, and rumours of £35,000 a week is certainly a lot to be paying for a goalkeeper. And is that fair on Robbie McCrory? Is that fair to bring in a player who is probably going to start over him and then sitting Robbie back on the bench after, quite realistically, the kid has done himself every favour in the world by the calibre of his performances, by the way he's played. Robbie is only 25 years old still. Now, that is obviously, you might say that's quite old for a young player, but he's not. For a goalkeeper, 25 is still very young indeed. Goalkeepers certainly don't reach their prime until they're in their 30s. So, realistically, with McCrory, you've got a goalkeeper there that, if he continues to improve, continues to play at the level he is playing at this moment in time, we could have at Rangers for at least another 10 years playing at a very high level. So McCrory, for me, is certainly someone, who I would welcome to be our goalkeeper, our GK1, our starting keeper, and someone like Pandur come in and be his backup. And then obviously something like, I don't know, one of the youth team keepers possibly on the bench as the third string option behind those two. That could be, I think, a decent option going forward. It certainly would save wages. It would save the club some money and allow us to put that money into other areas of need. Obviously the striking area is an area that Rangers really do need to address this summer. 2 to even 3 strikers need to be brought in if Antonio Cholak obviously moves on. Someone who can come in and score us 20, 25 goals, 25 to 30 goals even a season is an absolute must. I think that has been one of the major differences between Rangers and Celtic this season. They have got Kyogo, who can score goals, who can score you 20, 25 goals a season. We've had no one who can do that. Morelos, 18 is the best he's done, in any game. in any season, he's never broken 20 goals in a league season, 20 league goals, should I say, in a season. So we definitely need someone who can come in and score us 20 to 25 league goals. Who that is, well, I will leave that to Michael Beale. There's obviously plenty of names been linked. And, we'll bring those links, we'll bring that news when it breaks here on Glasgow Rangers Nation. Talking of Alfredo Morelos has, well, I don't know, again, used his social media again to, as players do these days, to tweet out a cryptic tweet many believe is in response to his old firm snub. Morelos tweeted out about faith in God, faith in his God, and that being it. Many people believe this is a sort of a side swipe at Michael Beale. Personally, I don't know. I just think it's a whole lot of I don't know, just typical, isn't it, about Alfie? The fact that anything around Alfie becomes a story, doesn't it? Certainly that whenever Alfie says or does anything, it is an absolute story. Now, one obviously thing I think we need to take into account, is the fact that Alfie has only scored 3 goals against Celtic since arriving in 2017, and that's a pretty poor return for someone obviously who's been such a well-regarded player at the club. Like I said, only faith in my God was exactly what he tweeted out. It was a snap on Instagram of him wearing a Rangers kit, pointing at the sky with the back of a Rangers kit with obviously his name and number on, and Solo fe en ti mi Dios, which was what in Spanish translates into English as only faith in my God. So maybe that's a reference to, him God guiding him on his next move, given the link, like obviously that he's been linked with Gala, with Sevilla, Fenerbahce, and a number of different clubs around Europe. But, he is moving on, as Michael Beale has said. But like I said, anything around Alfie is a circus, isn't it? Anything anything to do with Alfie is an absolute circus at this moment in time. One player obviously who came out of the weekend with an awful lot of praise for his performance was Ridvan Yilmaz. Obviously Ridvan has missed a fair number of games this season due to injury, and some people even felt that that when he was signed that he was an unnecessary signing at the time given the players that we had at the club. But I think he offered something different. He offered a more direct way of playing. He stepped up really well. He never stopped bombing on throughout the entire game. He cut out crosses, which is certainly something that Borna at times does struggle to do. And I think Yilmaz definitely showed himself as being the left back of the future. Now, one good positive here is that, given the fact that Borna is out of contract next summer, it could obviously, push Rangers towards selling him this summer to raise some extra funds for player acquisition, and obviously to not allow Borna to run down his contract. That could definitely be an option. But that was thanks obviously to the quality of play by Ridvan on Saturday. Like I said, I thought he was a very, very good. He played very, very well indeed. His dribbling was good. His tackling was good. He was always available. And I think, he certainly put in a shift. And that back four did look a whole lot better on Saturday with Tav, Goldson, Suter and Yilmaz. Certainly, I hope, those last 3 games that we've got, we have the last 3 games coming up. We've got Hibs on Sunday at 12 o'clock before a Wednesday night game at Ibrox under the floodlights, which will be a fantastic atmosphere, against Hearts before the last day of the season on the 27th of May at 12:30 away at St Mirren. So certainly in those next 3 games, I would love to see Ridvan given all 3 of those games and given a chance to continue to impress and to play the way he has done. And the way with the quality he has shown. Obviously, another player who came out of Saturday with some credit, after what has been an exceptionally challenging season for him, was John Lundstram. I was listening to Heart and Hand and to Rangers Review earlier, and they made I can't remember which pod it was on, but they made a really interesting point. They said that, Michael Beale had sat down and talked to players about their futures, and he had conversations with a number of players about their futures and told players, what their futures effectively were. Lundstram has still got a year left on his deal at the club, and has certainly, in interviews and in discussions he's had with Rangers media, said that, he doesn't want to move on. He would like to finish his career at Rangers. He loves playing for the club. Is it that Michael sat John Lundstram down and told him that he has a future here next season? And perhaps Lundstram, the fact that obviously, number one, he seems a bit fitter. He did I think he was, carrying a knock at the start of the season and through most of the season. And he sort of got a bit more fitness back and perhaps a bit more confidence in the fact that he will be here next season has perhaps really led to him playing that a little bit better over the last couple of games. Certainly he was very good against Aberdeen and certainly was excellent against Celtic. Obviously, a lot of that has been put down to the fact that Ryan Jack played. I do feel that when Jack plays, it does enable Raskin and Lundstram to get that a little bit further forward, to play their more natural games, because they know that Ryan is back there and covering. Whereas when Ryan doesn't play, Lundstram tends to be the man who drops back. And it's when he drops back that he goes perhaps into that more backwards passing, sideways passing, negative John Lundstram that we see, rather than the more get stuck in, put himself about a little bit more that we see when Ryan Jack is there. Because when you are playing with a player like Ryan Jack, and I know Ryan has his injury issues, and Ryan has had those problems since he joined Rangers, and I get that 100%. But it does seem to me that when Ryan is there, it does lead to Raskin and to Lundstram playing a whole lot better. He is. Lundstram, I think, look, and I've been the first to call out John Lundstram. I've criticised this man very heavily. As you can see from the videos, you go back and look at videos. But look, praise where praise is due. He has done really well the next two games. And, whilst we do need, I think, a changeover of players, of course we do. We do need a fresh start with this team, with this squad. You can't, as I've said on other videos, throw the baby out with the bathwater. People have said, we'll just throw the entire squad out and start all over again. Well, realistically, that's not possible. You can't have that massive, huge turnover of players. Number one, there isn't the funds for it. And number two, it just doesn't work. You cannot swap 15, 16, 20 players in a season and bring in 20 new players and expect them to bond and gel as one. You need some experience there. You need some core there, and it's a gradual process of rebuilding a team. And I think that obviously, no matter what, and again, Lundstram is a player who divides the fan base, as many players do at the club. So I do think that this is a case of getting back to looking at who are squad players, who are players that will, whilst not start next season, will be there as backups, and perhaps Lundstram could be one of those backup players. Talking of backup players, Robbie Matondo, I think, has 3 games to really show us now that he can be a player that is part of the squad next season. I personally don't think he's a starter. And maybe, if an offer does come in, we sell him. But does Matondo deserve that? I'd love to get your opinions on that. Does Matondo deserve that? Now, I think the next 3 games are absolutely crucial for Robbie. I think he needs to show in those next 3 games that he is capable of being a squad player next season. He is capable of being a player who can do a job for Rangers, certainly coming off the bench, or in games where we need to rotate the squad, given hopefully the amount of football that we will play next season. Certainly hopeful that we will obviously be in the Champions League, for example. But certainly, again, like I said, it's another baby out with the bathwater job, isn't it? You've got to be in a situation where you do retain some of those players. You do look at building that squad and having squad players. And Matondo, very much like Sakala, has been discussed as being that squad player for next season rather than that starter. Obviously, our attention turns to that game on Sunday, where Rangers take on Hibernian at Easter Road, back at Easter Road, where Rangers won 4-1 in their last time out at Easter Road, a 12 o'clock kickoff. That is where the focus has to be. Obviously, now building towards that, putting behind us what happened on Saturday. Like we said, a game that, realistically, in the grand scheme of the league didn't mean anything. But like I said, in terms of the Old Firm, it means something. You'd never have an Old Firm game that doesn't mean anything. It's not possible. It is a huge game. It is a huge worldwide game. But our focus now obviously turns to the Hibernian game on Sunday as we build up towards that. And here on Glasgow Rangers Nation, we'll bring you all that build up. We'll bring you all the news from the club as regards Rangers going to Easter Road, and obviously all the team news and news from Michael Beale's press conference when that comes later on this week. Well, guys, that is the latest news for today. Let's hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give this video a like. And if you can go back and check some of the other content, go back and check out the Jack Butland video from last night when I talk about why Butland may not be coming to Rangers. Thank you so much for watching. As always, guys, please hit that sub. Please ring that notification bell. And if you can give the video a like, it does help. I'll be back to speak to you again very soon here on Glasgow Rangers Nation.